Yo, I wanted to skip my normal cold open odyssey to dive right in with this one. I was originally gonna put this episode and the previous episode together, like a sandwich.
My sandwich.
Your sandwich.
Oh, my sandwich.
But I realized that the episode would be 11 to 15 minutes long, and I wouldn't want to watch that. So I don't expect y'all to do the same. Welcome back. I'm Adam F. Johns, and this show is about me, the titular 30-year-old. I wrote 16 scripts and counting during quarantine. And here's how I did it. I'm gonna break down how I write. I didn't go to film school. I took myself to film school by making things and researching on the internet. This trilogy will be about simply finishing a script, namely that first draft, which should be one of the easiest parts of the writing process. The hard part, as you may know, is the rewrites. So let's dive in. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat, that's the way it is. Much like everyone else, this quarantine is and has been hard on me emotionally and motivation-wise. Doesn't sound like that, but it was. Why I say this is the genre you write is incredibly important during this time. The vast majority of these 16 scripts are comedies because comedy was an antidote to what was happening around me. The two hardest scripts to write were True Face, the very dark noir feature, and Silver City, the equally as dark sci-fi pilot. What I recommend if you want to fly through something, make it light, but that's all depending on your preference. The drama would also be rather easy to write at this moment because of the raw emotion encircling us. You can reach in the air for it. Come here, drama. Come here, drama. I'm a drama.
The very first thing I do is this. I create a document entitled Chaos Notes. It's my home for a very long time. It's where my chaos reigns. Ideas are explored, discarded, and considered. I have subheadings that are my go-to. I usually start with my inspirations for the project, like movies, TV show, and music. These are things that can reset me to feeling that inspiration for that particular project. It's why it's at the top. When you're writing in a different project every day or every week, it's tough to feel the spark. Inspiration from various mediums alleviates that.
After that, I usually vomit for a very long time. Something I've learned from doing this for a while is always deal in the absolute when you write. What I mean is that I used to write, yeah, it would be cool if Elliot did this. That's not committal. Being passive in my own writing, not good. Not good at all. Like, I was tossing it around still. When you write ideas, cement them. You can always change them later, but usually your first instinct is the best. There are still exceptions to the rule. I was writing this show entitled Atlas. I was coming up with the initial idea, then I wrote, there should be a vampire character. I looked at my notes the next day and instantly erased it. That was stupid. Vampires, there's only a couple vampire shows that work, and we all know which one that is. What Would We Do in the Shadows? I created subheadings so that it saves me a headache later when I'm trying to parse through all this fevered hotness. The commonly used headings I use are setting, where I simply vomit out words about the place and time and atmosphere of where this piece is taking place. It's almost like Silver City is another character in the piece. I hate that expression so much. It's like New York City is like another character in our movie. Anyway, another heading I use quite often is scene ideas, since that's usually how the idea will spark for me. I have a multitude of scenes written that happen at random, or a piece of dialogue that snags my brain stickles. I'll actually write as much of the scene that comes to me in that moment. It's as if I'm writing the script, but I'm most definitely not. It makes things weird later when I copy that scene for myself when I write the actual script. I'll get to that later.
All right, we got inspirations here. We got settings. We got scene ideas. But what about our people? What about our robots? What about our fish mutants? We gotta have characters, honey. Characters.
I have a section completely just for characters. I'll be honest, this is usually created last. I hate writing character descriptions. I hate them so much. I will be stumped on coming up with a name for a character for hours and have to force myself to move on, or just simply put character name. Speaking of moving on, we have storyline ideas. Now this is not the same as scene ideas because this section is a lot more vague. For example, I will say how I want to have my main character of Silver City Gideon have a moment where he is on an empty floor of an office building, holding a woman in his arms. She's bleeding to death. Just an example of something that popped up in my noggin that I wanted to do, so I put it in there. Once I got the vague storyline out of the way, I either have the beginning or ending bubbling in my head. I usually explore that until I have the full thing written. I cannot tell you how invaluable it is to have both of these completely written by the time you write your script. They're the hardest parts of every television show or movie. Mostly, they are often overlooked, especially endings. How many TV shows have you watched where the ending just sort of happens and it's this lazy alley-oop into the next episode? I mean, I get it. These shows are made for binging in mind, but come on. Let's not abandon basic common sense for viewing trends. By this time, you should have a really good idea of where you're going, and you'll start seeing more and more characters join the fold. They'll join the party, they'll knock on the windows, the doors. Be like, come in. When this happens, we start the divide. I create a new document that is all about characters. Get that shit out of here. In this document, the character sheet, I get nitty gritty. I dive into the main character's parents. Knowing your main character's parents and how he or she is raised is absolutely invaluable information for a writer to come up with. It dictates nearly everything. Nature versus nurture, baby. Nurture that nature, baby. Lastly, what I want to do is essentially dive back into all these sections. I write in them to an exhausting degree. It's the first thing I open when I turn on my computer, and the last thing I close when I turn off my computer. Here's the difference between films and TV shows for this process. With a show, we have different seasons. If you get ideas for season 3, write them down and label it that, and store it in a subsection called season 3 ideas. With a show, you're gonna wanna have subheadings like arcs, season finales, season premieres, specific season themes, cold opens, and goals. As you write, I highly recommend separating the seasons with different documents. That will save you major heartache later on. You gotta keep them separated. For my self-made people out there that plan on making these projects, I recommend having subheadings dedicated to possible/usable locations, costumes, casting ideas, shot ideas, etc. Why I recommend doing this is that as you're writing, you'll get these ideas that pop up about how to shoot something, or who to cast for a certain character, or a location that you write that you're really iffy about. This helps put everything in a more manageable place and get some pre-production work done before you even write the script or do the damn storyboards. All right, so at this point, this Chaos Notes document must be an epic tome of information. So what do you do next? Sorry, I couldn't resist. That's it for now. I'll be back next week with the next section of my process, which is about timelines. If you have any questions, if I went too fast on something, please feel free to comment and I will answer it for you. Or if it's something rather complex, I'll break it down via video after all these videos have aired in a special Q&A video. I'm Adam F. Johns, and this is 30. This is 30.